Good afternoon, everybody. Uneducated economist here. Let's talk about regrets. I heard somebody say that they regret an investment they had made. Um, I don't know how much money they lost, but they said that they regret that purchase or that investment. And so I got to thinking about that as I was like, I didn't interrupt them to find out if it was like a house or just a stock or something that they had purchased. But I got to thinking about that. I was just like, man, regretting a purchase, like you regret this purchase that you made. And you think like this intense sad feeling that you had, like a buyer's remorse almost. Maybe it was like you bought too expensive of a car and now you know like how much you're going to have to give up in order to make the payments on this car. So you regret the purchase and now you feel like you can't even get out of the car because you would have to take a loss on it just to get rid of the vehicle. Of course, nowadays with vehicles being that way, as expensive as they are, that may not be the greatest example. But regret can be in a lot of stuff that you've done. Maybe you regret quitting a job that you liked only because you were going to search out maybe more pay. But the job that you took that pays you more, you don't like it, and now you just feel terrible every day going to work and going home, and you regret giving up that other job. And this regret, it can lead in so many things in your life, like just about everything you do. I mean, you could regret the lane change that you made, and you're like, man, I should have been in that other lane. Now I'm like sad because I can't. Now I miss my exit or something. You could regret something you said. You didn't really mean it, but it was such a powerful thing that you said that now it's just like, the person you might have said it to is just all the apologies in the world doesn't fix it. And so you can regret like just something that you said. Doesn't even have to be something you did. Just having that intense feeling of sadness over a particular moment in time. And you think how like deep it gets into you. You wonder, man, why do I feel this way? Why do I feel this such intense sadness over this particular moment? And it may last a long time. This feeling of regret, like your entire life. Sometimes I wonder when I see like somebody who's on the street and you see that sadness on their face, and you think, do they have a particular moment in time, like that very first time they ever got high, and they regret that moment? Like, why did they do it? Because from that point on, their life was never the same, and now they sit on the streets, wondering where they're gonna get their next meal or whether or not they're gonna be warm that night. You know, spent a whole lifetime in regret doing that. And so I got to thinking about like some of the things that I had, this feeling of regret. Like I had purchased a house back in 2007, and a lot of you already know the story, but eventually the house was foreclosed on, and I regret making that purchase. Like every day, I would just regret like all the crap that happened from it. I'd be like almost angry at myself for making that decision, and I just regretted it. And then I got to thinking, I was just like, man, had you not gone through that, you would not have been wise enough to be doing some of the things that you're doing today. Like, you would not have picked up any idea of what it would have been like to go through a foreclosure, to understand the detrimental effects from failing to make the payments. Without the event actually taking place that caused the regret, then I never would have learned what it is that I needed to do to make sure that that thing doesn't happen again to me. This feeling of regret that I had for failing to make the payments or failing in life in general, and just feel like I'm failing the family and feel like I fail and everything I do, was actually one of the best lessons that I had ever received. It actually motivated me to do other things in my life that actually benefited me far beyond anything I would ever have anticipated or expected. This whole YouTube channel never would have existed had I not failed back then. Had I not tried to figure out what was going on with my life, to try and understand what macroeconomics was, and then to eventually start this channel. Like, I don't know if that ever would have happened had I not failed all those years back, and living in that regret, that intense sadness for what had happened. And so I think about some of the decisions that, I had to make recently. Purchasing a house here in this county that I live in Clatsop County, there's not a whole lot of cheap homes. And I could have made the decision to leave. I made the decision to stay. I feel somewhat regretful of having to purchase the house at the price that I did. I mean, I regret this decision. Not so intensely that it overwhelms me, but it does leave me with a lot of concern about what the future is going to be like, having locked myself in on such an expensive home. Homes go up, that's great. If they don't, well, I hope I can continue to make the payment, because I've been here before. So even having that feeling of regret now still enhances or elevates you to a higher piece of knowledge or to a higher level. Like, that's what I don't think a lot of people kind of get from the feeling of regret, is that if you didn't have it, then you would never have achieved that higher understanding. The fact that you are regretful in itself is what's giving you that higher power knowledge. Because if you didn't have that feeling, then you would never understand what it was that was taking place. I think about some of the decisions that I'm making now going into the future. And even though you may regret that decision that you have made, think about how much higher of an understanding you are now that you do regret it, and understand why it is that you regret that decision that you made. I guess that would be it, right? Regret gives you a higher level of understanding. Uneducated economist, you guys let me know.